Well, I just told Brian in the green room that we were going to be talking about abundance, and he said,
Sounds like kind of a lot,
and I lost it. I did the second time. I'm not going to laugh my head off because
right?
I already did that, and it would be silly to anyway. Brian, listen, we're told by Elon and others that we're entering the age of abundance. I believe that. I consider when we were doing the AI Rising book, I considered having, well, in fact, I think in the subtitle it does say how to thrive in the age of abundance. Yes.
Hmm.
So I'm a believer that we're entering the age of abundance. But I wanted to set this up. I'm going to say that we've been in the age of abundance for a very, very, very long time, maybe a couple of hundred years.
Hmm.
But even if we just go back 60, 70, some of us have lived that long. Um, for instance, many things that cost money uh, 50 years ago are free now.
Hmm.
Telephone calls,
Hmm.
international telephone calls, um, newspapers, I mean, news, just news in general. You still have to pay for a newspaper, but who does? Information in general. I remember going to the library to get my information, which might have been free, but it's not free to get there, and it's way more expensive to extract the information. We have airfares. Actually, just saw a posting on that today. Airfares are down when taking inflation into consideration substantially. Food has just gone under 10% again as a percentage of our income. And now even insurance, car insurance, home insurance, and medical, your overall medical bills are actually trending down now. Not disinflating, but deflating. So I say that is an age of abundance. We're getting more and more for less and less. And even the things that cost more today, sometimes you just have so much more in the product. That's why it costs more. Anyway, what do you think?
So if you look at, I did an article years ago for a publication where I said it was something like 87% of the Radio Shack catalog is your phone. And I went through, I pulled up a, I don't know, 92, 93 Radio Shack catalog. I said, we're going to exclude that middle bit with all the transistors and capacitors and whatnot, because that's just parts. But finished products, let's see. All the TVs are your phone. All of the stereos are your phone, and better quality, smaller screen, but better
Right,
quality.
right.
All of the portable electronics, all of the games. It was pretty much down to, and like the musical instruments, you've got better musical instruments on your phone. But I did count some of the musical instruments as not on your phone because they were specific. Drums. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
That's, I mean, kind of, but
Yeah,
anyway.
yeah.
So that is a bit of abundance. If you guys are younger, now you said we may have been in this for 60, 70 years, and some of us may have been alive. I'd say half of us have been alive that long because I have not. But looking back at old catalogs, go back and look at an old Sears catalog from 1989, and you'll find that a simple button up shirt cost $20 in 1989 for a button up shirt. It doesn't cost $20 at Walmart today. Walmart runs a very different business model, but for the consumer, who cares? Do you really think people would be happy paying $80 because inflation adjusted? That's probably what it would be. And I remember my first job in the 90s at Olive Garden. I mean, it wasn't my first job, but my first job where I had to go out and buy stuff. I had to buy white dress up, dress shirts, and Walmart didn't exist in my state yet. I was paying $40 at Nordstrom Rack in 93 for a plain white dress shirt. That's mental. Those things have gone down. Airfare, I had this amazing deal when I was 19. I got an Amex card and I could get 2 tickets per year to anywhere I wanted to go in the US for $279. Do you know how many places you can go for $279 today? Uh, we have abundance today. What we have is an inability to disperse it to everyone. Or maybe it's an unwillingness. There's certainly logistical challenges. There's, corruption or corrupt governments or whatever, but there's also corrupt people. And there's also hoarders. We have more empty homes than we have homeless people. We don't lack the resources. What we lack is the ability to connect resources appropriately. So the distribution. And by the way, on medical, if you say the costs are going down, whatever, I'll believe you. But that's
Yeah, that was a
not.
shock. That was actually
I don't
shocking.
buy it. And even if it went down 10%, it's still 300% too expensive.
Oh no, it was a shocker to me too. I saw it just the other day on X, and I like, what are you even talking about? And it turns out, well, it may just be that it was kind of peaked, and so it's kind of like Tesla is down, but it was from an unusual peak. So maybe health was at a peak, and now it's, and that's the same with car insurance and homeowners insurance too. It's not that it's real cheap, it's that it was crazy high, and now it's come back down somewhat.
Hmm.
Anyway, so let's talk about the future.
I'm ready.
Because the future, I'm saying that the proof of future abundance is the fact that we've had historical improvements that would look like abundance to anybody that was alive, even in the 50s. The stuff that we have today, my 80-inch or 85-inch or whatever it is, flat screen TV over here, it wasn't even, it wasn't even a twinkle in my mother's eye back in the
Right.
50s.
The craziest thing about technology today, Randy, is that it goes from non-existent to affordable in a matter of single digit years. And I mean, genuinely, like for those who don't remember, a 27-inch 4x3 standard def television was $500-600. Go back all the way to the beginning. My grandpa was a TV repairman back when TVs cost $1,000 in the 50s.
Yes.
That's mental money. And now it's, I don't care where you work. A new TV is less than a week's pay.
Yeah, right, exactly. And a pretty good size one too.
Yeah.
In fact, in Kauai 2 years ago, we wanted to buy a TV for, even though we were only going to be there for 3 weeks, I think that time. And but the TV they had was so horrible. It only cost us $89 to get a, like, whatever, a 24-inch, just a small, small flat screen.
And you left it?
We took it home, but it got broken transportation. Got broke on the plane, and we
And
were
did
like,
you cry?
for $89, it was like, I'm not even going to call the airline.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, what are the things that you're most excited about in terms of future abundance? I know, we spent a lot of time working on this for the book. What are you thinking now? A lot has changed even in
Yeah.
the year since we wrote it.
Yeah. What I'm looking forward to, I saw a post on Reddit that was so dumb. It made my head spin. It had a picture of like a Ford, I couldn't tell, maybe a Model C, an antique Ford on the road next to a Cybertruck. And it said, 100 years and nothing has changed. This is the future. It's just still two dudes driving themselves down the road. Literally isn't. Literally
That is
isn't.
not the case.
There's a gentleman who I had a conversation with in the comments on my YouTube channel who said, I will never buy an EV because public charging is too expensive compared to gas. I said, how much are you on the road? All the time for work, nonstop. And I said, oh, I could never do that without FSD. It gives you back so much of your headspace. So what this abundance can do, the abundance we can see today, not, fantasy stuff, is today it can give you back your headspace when you're driving. The idea of sitting in bumper to bumper traffic every day, which tens of millions do, is soul crushing to me. I will never do that again. The idea of having, there's a real problem in medical care where medical care costs money. I don't know if we covered that, but it does cost money. And it's just a fact of life. The population is aging. I would love to see a lot of the jobs go to robots. And I don't care if that robot is a Roomba that is actually able to sanitize the floor, or if it's a humanoid robot that can take out the trash and just tidy up, not even medically certified, not even certified to touch a human, also able to recognize when someone is having a medical issue. There, now we've got half the staff, and they're better staff because we got the pick of the litter. We got the best half of the staff to stay. The other half can, I don't know, go do something else. And I'm not saying they should go home and not work and suffer. Unemployment is very low. There are other jobs they can do that might be more appropriate for their skills, desires, and capacity. So those are two things that are just right there, easy for the picking. Get more services from less labor, which is what we've been doing for the last 200 years. I mean, the loom changed things a bit when it came around. The printing press, those are more than 200 years, but you get the idea.
Yeah.
This has always been what mechanization has afforded. So more output from less human labor, less humans in dangerous jobs. Deep sea welding, that's deadly. Forest firefighting. Who cares if a few bots get toasted up? Either you can repair them or you can't, and no one died. Disaster relief. I don't want a human crawling into the rubble, but a little tiny robot could do it. Those are all here today in some capacity, though not widely deployed. That's, to me, what abundance would look like. And while we've got a lot of farming has been mechanized, and this is probably in my chapter, I think I covered this part, is, I don't remember now, it's been a while, is there's no reason to have any humans involved in the agriculture business. Why can't machines, and I don't mean necessarily a humanoid robot, but an AI-powered planting device, do all the seeding, do all the tilling? I mean, and then you've seen how well harvesters work. One reason U.S. agriculture is so prized around the world is because it is mechanized. Our cotton is very valuable because it has not been touched by human hands, which are greasy. We have oils in our skin that can cause imperfections in the dyeing process. And then, cigarette butts and candy wrappers and whatever it may be that also ends up in there. Get the humans out of the process, things can work better. And then those people can go do something that's more meaningful, that's less backbreaking. That's what I see as abundance.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. And there's so many of these things. Then there's the kind of the other side of it, which is kind of where I come from, but in a sense that you do too, because you've also had a little bit of experience in manufacturing and a lot of experience talking or finding out about it and learning about how it happens at Tesla. Is as we do as the 3D printers and the bots, and the AI analysis and ability to make the factories run better, the price of everything is going to come down. And then you're going to put it on an automated EV or an EV truck, EV truck. Anyway, you're going to put it on a truck that's both electric and automated. And so it's going to cost less to bring the raw materials. It's going to cost less to bring the packaging. And then once you ship it, it's going to cost less to ship it to distributor and less cost to ship it to the retailer. And then it's going to be put on a drone and it's going to be delivered to your home within an hour for free.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's all possible. You've got the factories I've worked at were limited run factories because this was in the 90s and things had already been shipped overseas. So I worked at like a packaging plant where we did Microsoft products that were basically excess orders where, yes, we've got the big factory overseas, but we need another 1,000 copies of C++ compilers. We would package them. But the other ones were metal fab and plating. And we would do, our biggest runs were probably 500. So we would do like plating for, and also oversized weird stuff, some aerospace. These were jobs that could not be automated. And I'd say today still cannot be automated unless you're talking about a reasoning tactile robot with near human skills.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, you'll be replacing the hands constantly.
Yeah, I've been in a lot of factories like those. All right, so these are the kinds of things I think that I don't know, people can let us know in the comments below whether you believe that this age of abundance is upon us, like happening. Not only is it already in existence, but accelerating. and going to become absolutely amazing within the next few years. I think a lot of people either don't like to think about the future or it's just not part of their makeup. They don't think about the future. But I think it's a good idea to prep. I think it's a good idea to be aware of the things that are coming. It may cause you to, oh, I don't know, buy the right stock.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I do typically either chicken or beef uh, because I find it makes a hearty soup.
So speaking of stock or soup or something, no, speaking of none of those things, you're going to be flying tomorrow, I think, off to Nepal land.
I'm flying to Kathmandu on the 18th. So we're recording this on the 17th. The 18th, I'll be heading to Kathmandu. It's a 40-hour journey, 44 if you count my time getting to the airport and arriving early. So it's going to be a whole lot of fun. But I'm interviewing ministers of parliament. I'm interviewing CEOs. I'm interviewing the director of the Public Transit Authority to understand how electrification is coming. We've got a meeting at the 2 and 3 wheel electric vehicles are finally arriving. I've got a meeting with a company that does that. They're excited to have us come in and check it out. So there's a lot on my calendar. And of course, I'll be driving a bunch of cars because I'm legal to do that now in like most of the world's countries.
Now, since you've already gone once, would this time would we be calling it Catman Done?
Catman redo, I think is what you
Redo,
call it.
redo. Yeah, there you go.
Mhm.
That works. I
Yeah,
will tell.
and
Yeah.
the beauty is we were able to show them the videos we made last time and say, look, we're approaching this from a very exploring what's really going on, not trying to, sugarcoat it, but there's a lot of good things going on, and we're showing them respectfully and all that.
Yeah.
So
You mean
it
honest? You mean
opened
honest
more doors.
reporting? Honest reporting?
Yeah. Well, if you wanted to go and just do a whole trip of muckraking, you
Right.
could do it. You could absolutely find flaws
Yeah.
to paint a predetermined picture. But I can focus on the successes while still mentioning the shortcomings. The shortcomings did show up, but they're overshadowed by the accomplishments, and that's something that has opened doors for us.
Okay. I have to say that you are the only person that I know or have ever known who's been to Kathmandu twice.
Hmm.
In
Oh
fact,
yeah.
I think there's a pretty good chance you're the only one I know who's ever been to it once. So,
Hmm.
so
Dr. Know-it-alls, Ben.
oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So now there's two of us.
There you go. I do know somebody else. All right, Brian, enjoy your trip, and we will see you when you get back, and you'll have much to report, I'm certain. And to all of you out there, it's been great talking to you.